Hello. We'll be going over basic Maya interface and keyboard shortcut commands, and then you'll upload what you've created to the Canvas assignments page. We're working in the Maya Classic workspace. If your windows don't look like mine, you can always come down to the Preferences shortcut, this little orange running man next to a gear. Click on that, and you can come to Edit, Restore Default Settings. So for most of this semester, we'll be working in the Maya Classic mode, and typically with introductory students, we're just working with the default settings to make it straightforward. One other thing that you can do is come to the Help and the 1-minute startup movies. This is really another version of what I'll be going over here. And those are probably 8 2-minute videos, well worth your time, reinforce what I'll be demonstrating here. First thing we want to make sure is that our channel box is active. Your channel box may be active. If it isn't, you can click on this tab here, channel box. There's also an icon shortcut. If for some reason your tabs were missing, you can click on this icon here to get to channel box. We'll be utilizing the modeling toolkit, which is this icon here, this tab, and the attribute editor, which is that icon there in this tab. We'll start in the channel box. The other window that you want to have available is the outliner. This just gives us a list of everything in our scene. If your outliner wasn't available to you, you could come to Windows, Outliner. All right, so some basics. As we just mentioned, here is a channel box that gives us our transform information. Our modeling toolkit is a basic set of polygonal modeling tools, the most often used tools. Your attribute editor will give you all of the kind of under the hood information about the object that you currently have selected. Down at the bottom, we have our timeline and our range slider. We won't be animating this scene, but we will be animating in the next couple of weeks, and we'll use and we'll talk about the time slider and the range slider. Just mentioned the outliner. Then over here are our tools. This is our selection tool. This is a lasso type selection tool. This is a paint select tool. We won't be using these today or even in the first week or so, but we'll get to them eventually. This is our translate or move tool, our rotate tool, and our scale tool. And we'll be using these today for this lesson. They also correspond with the keyboard. So the selection tool is Q on the keyboard. We'll skip those two. The move tool is the W on the keyboard. The rotate tool is E, and the scale tool is R. We will in the next couple of weeks talk about transform tool, and that is T on the keyboard. We have a list of shelves here, all of the different modalities of Maya, and make sure that your polygonal shelf is active. We're going to make a polygon in just a moment. Up along the top, here's a new scene file icon, a open scene icon, a save icon, and then this is undo, Z on the keyboard, no command or option key, just the Z, lowercase z all by itself. And then this is the redo, and you can use Shift Z, uppercase Z to redo. Now, one of the most important sets of icons here, or buttons, are the object mode and the component mode. If you look here, this little icon, this is our standard selection mode, object. It corresponds with this list of icons here, handles, skeletons, curves, surfaces, deformers, dynamics, rendering agents, and miscellaneous, everything that's left over. So this is object mode. If I click on this icon, this takes me into component mode. And there's a list of components. And the only component that's on by default is the vertexes. And we'll also be using edges and faces. So the three main components for polygonal objects that we'll be using are the vertexes or points, the edges, and the faces. Object mode, component mode. I'm going to go back and leave it in object mode. Here are some snapping items and our input-output icons, and then some of our rendering icons here, shortcut to the hypershade. If that doesn't make sense to you, you're brand new to Maya, that's okay. But those are the basics that we'll get under our belt over the course of the next 2 or 3 weeks. And just those basics right there will allow you to begin to build scenes in Maya. So to get credit for this lesson, all you're going to do is create a cube and just save this scene file and upload it. We'll end with that, but all it has to be is one polygonal object, and I'll just start with a cube. Now I'd like to talk about a few keyboard shortcuts and a few ideas about the windows or the view spaces. I've made this cube just by clicking on the cube with the poly shelf active. And I'm going to hit the F key. The F key will frame whatever object is selected. So we've selected the polycube here. We see that it's selected. It's outlined in green, which means it is selected. If I clicked off, I can tell that this isn't selected because it doesn't have that green highlight. I'll click back on it. Note I've got my select tool, or you could hit Q on the keyboard to make that the active tool. Navigating in Maya uses a combination of your right, middle, and left mouse buttons in conjunction with the Option key. And I believe that's the Alt key on Windows PC. So I'm using a Mac currently, and I'll be saying Option key, but if you're on a PC, that would be your Alt key. So I'm going to hold down the Option key, and we'll talk about the fact that with my left mouse button and the Option key, I can rotate around the shape. I'm rotating around that shape. If I hold down the Option key and the middle mouse button, I can track up and down, left and right. And if I hold down the Option key and the right mouse button, I can zoom out. If you have a trackball where your middle mouse button is, you can scroll that up and down and have the same effect of zooming in and out. So just once again, the Option key or the Alt key on a PC, left mouse button, middle mouse button, right mouse button. Another keyboard shortcut is to tap the space bar. And I just wanted to mention here, there are many windows and views. This is called the standard 4 view. We have our top view here, front view, and side view. Here's the perspective view that we were just looking at. I can tap my space bar to maximize that again or to minimize it. I can maximize these and minimize these other views as well, just tapping the space bar. And if for some reason that wasn't working, you have icons here that will allow you to get to the standard 4 view and back to the basic perspective view. All right. In our next lesson, we'll talk about components. But for today, just to demonstrate that you've got Maya up and running, that you understand some basics of the interface, you've set up your interface correctly, and you were able to create just a polygon and maybe navigate around a little bit. You understand how to minimize and maximize views. You'll save this file and upload it to Canvas. Now, there's 2 things you'll want to do before you upload anything for me to access. Because we're working on different platforms, likely different versions, we need to delete what's called the NonDeformer history. And there's 2 kinds of delete here. There's by type and all by type. And so one of the 2 things that you'll need to do for everything that you upload to Canvas for me to review is to go to Edit, Delete by Type, NonDeformer History. Edit, Delete by Type, NonDeformer History. In subsequent lessons, I'll explain what that does, what that means, but for now, just execute that command. Edit, delete all by type, non-deformer history. And the second thing that you'll need to do is save it, file, save it as an ASCII file. The native file format is binary. When you're saving files for your own computer, you can save them in the binary format. But as we're sending this through Canvas, you may be working on a PC, I'm working on a Mac, maybe we're working on different versions. The ASCII format will give us a more translatable version of the scene file. So make this your name. I would just say Cryer Poly, and maybe we'll just say 1 there. And we'll talk about scene file structure or folder structure in an upcoming lesson. But for now, I would just recommend save that right to the desktop so that you know where it is. If you understand where the Maya file structure is saving things, then by all means, go ahead and save there. But if you're brand new to Maya, just save that to your desktop so that you can remember exactly where it is. So Maya ASCII, Cryer Poly 1, and I'll say save. Now if I were to say new scene and I want to open that scene, we can see that it says Cryer Poly 1 and it's .ma. In order for me to open it, remember that it's going to need to be .ma Maya ASCII. And click that, hit open, and we've got that cube back. So that's it for the first week. You've spent most of your time getting Maya installed, verifying your student status so that you can get that free educational software. You've launched it, and I've given you some things to play with. And don't forget to also go check out Help 1-minute startup movies, which will also be very helpful. All right, have a good day.